My child went to school on Friday. He was actually suspended for unrelated incident. His father took him up there to have him reinstated in school. And then throughout the day, there were fights in the bathroom, fights after school, with kids that were his friends a week prior. They were his friends. Trenton came home after a fight after school, went up the stairs, he came in the back door, so he didn't see his dad or anybody. He explained to his older brother what had been going on through the day. During that, they hear people outside talking, they look out the window, and it's the same kids, 3 boys from his school and 2 adults. So they told his father knew them as his friends, like by name. So he went in the house and he was like, Trenton, your friends are here. My oldest son came down to tell his dad, like, they're not his friends, explained to him what happened. So his father went outside and said, he's not coming out here. And during the course of conversations, it was, if he doesn't come out, we're going to get him. And their dad was like, nobody's coming in my house. So then they said, well, if he's not going to fight, you're going to fight. And that's what it started. They fought here, started fighting in the yard for not very long, and it ended up with him in the street. And my son went to get the money back, and they hit each other or something, and then...
Alright guys, so we got to talk about a story out of Anne Arundel County, which is a county that's centrally located in Maryland. It's basically in Baltimore. Okay, so this is Baltimore for all intents and purposes, because I'll have people that come in the comment section, if I said this was just Baltimore, it's not really Baltimore. Right? I mean, that's kind of what people said when I did a video about the Chicago teenagers who went to Tinsley Park to cause a riot. There was people in the comment section saying, this isn't Chicago. Right? As if these teens did not come from Chicago, right? That's definitely where they came from, okay? Just because they went to a neighborhood outside of Chicago, a Chicago neighborhood, doesn't mean that they weren't from Chicago. They clearly were from Chicago, right? They definitely didn't live in Tinsley Park. Look at the demographics. But anyways, we gotta talk about a story, again, out of Baltimore. It's a Baltimore father was beaten to death by a group of thugs and their kids because he refused to let the thugs and their kids jump his son. Yes, this is a real story, okay? And the father ended up, again, dying defending his son from getting jumped by these thugs who showed up to his doorstep to fight his son because of some incident that happened in school. And I want to talk about this because this is a story that really shows you how important the Second Amendment is in this country. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll the clip.
They didn't just ruin our lives. Their lives are going to be changed forever. Their parents' lives are going to be changed forever. And nobody thinks about that, just from a fight.
43-year-old Christopher Wright was killed protecting his kids from a fight that started at Brooklyn Park Middle School Friday and was brought to his doorstep in Anne Arundel County.
So then Chris came out and to tell them, like, he's not coming out here to fight. And they had threatened at one point to come in and get him. And then they had said that if he's not gonna fight, then you're gonna fight us.
Tracy Karabczynski, Wright's fiance, says 3 teens and 2 adults showed up at her house looking to fight her 14-year-old son. But what happened next was criminal.
The damage was done before the ambulance ever took him away. He had had a seizure. It was done. There was nothing that the hospital could do.
I'll never forget the sounds. I'll never forget the noises my nephews made. When we had to tell them he was gone.
She would usually be at work, and like he would be the one person to take care of us every week, like every weekday. I would get home and I would see him, which would...
Wright was taken to shock trauma Friday and pronounced dead Saturday from a traumatic brain injury. The incident was caught on the victim and a neighbor's security camera.
I was at shock trauma initially, and my dad and I tried to go onto the camera to look. And the first video that comes up is my 12-year-old son screaming, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," and running out of the house to go into the street and help his dad. And I couldn't watch anymore after that. I just couldn't.
School officials confirmed the fight between the teens and say they worked to address the issue. Now they're working with police on the investigation.
Anybody who assisted or abetted or was an accomplice of the main suspect or the primary suspect in this incident would be culpable.
Karabchinsky says Chris was a devoted father who loved the stars and gardening. Her best friend taken over senseless violence.
It's everywhere. It is everywhere. And somewhere we as parents are failing these children. Like, as parents, we're failing. It's not the school's responsibility. It's our responsibility.
Wright's family is planning a candlelight vigil to honor his memory. In Anne Arundel County, I'm Janine Donaldson for WBAL TV 11 News.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. This is a tragic story that, honestly, I'm not sure exactly what could happen at a middle school that would lead up to something like this. Because allegedly, the dad who got beat to death, his son was involved in a fight with other students at school. And I'm assuming that the parents of those students that he got in a fight with showed up to the house of the child that got in a fight with their child. And they had deadly intentions, okay? Because if they beat the father to death, only can imagine what they wanted to do to the 14-year-old middle school child. Again, you show up to somebody's house with the intent of jumping a child. Again, I'm not sure what could happen to justify that behavior. It's one thing for children to get in fights on their own, right? But it's another when you have adults plus kids showing up to somebody's house to fight a kid. Again, that's crazy, right? This is savage behavior, okay? Now, the suspects, according to the police, it's interesting because when I was first reading this story, I was like, why don't we have a description, right? I mean, these suspects have not been arrested. Nobody knows who they are for whatever reason. Maybe people do know who they are. Maybe they're dangerous, okay? Maybe that's why nobody's saying anything about it. But this was definitely something that was caught on video. I'm pretty sure people know who these, suspects are. But allegedly, they're described as middle-aged in their 20s, 30s, white men, okay? And again, this is, in my opinion, I mean, this is thug-like behavior, right? And I just want to make that clear because, people want to try to say that, using the word thug is a way to say black person, right? Or black man, when it's like, no. I'm using thug to describe thug-like behavior. This is thug-like behavior. This is ghetto behavior, right? That's what this is, okay? And I want to make it clear. So any of you pro-black folks that are so upset with me, right, and how I cover these stories, please bookmark this video so that you can see an example of me calling white men who are acting thuggishly thugs, right? Because that's who they are. Only thugs would do something like this, show up to somebody's house to try to jump a child, okay? This is cowardly, ghetto, thuggish behavior. That's what it is. And I got a feeling that most of the white men who are watching this video probably are not going to disagree with me and get offended by the fact that I'm calling these white men who jumped a father, okay, because the father was protecting his son, wouldn't let them jump his son. I'm pretty sure they have no issues with me calling these white men thugs, okay? And that's the difference, right? That's the difference. I don't think they're gonna get hurt because I am describing these people exactly how they are, because I think that we should all agree, I don't think anybody, regardless of their race, should be defending criminals. And in this case, we have alleged murderers. For all you pro-black folks that get mad at me in terms of how I cover these stories, here you have one, right? I have some red meat for you, right? So with that being said, again, this is terrible. And this is exactly why the Second Amendment is so important, right? When you have people that show up to your doorstep like this and you're outnumbered, this is exactly why being armed in the Second Amendment is so important, because that would have evened out this fight, okay? That father would probably still be alive if he had a firearm on him to protect himself and his family. And it's possible that he could have, but, it's unlikely that he did because he didn't use it. In a situation like that, where you're getting jumped, I think that will be a situation where you should strongly consider using a firearm for self-defense. Okay. But regardless, I mean, a lot of people are hailing this father as a hero. I mean, I would say that he is. He saved his son's life. Okay, because it seems to me that they had deadly intentions for his son. And it is a crazy act of bravery to take on, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people to defend your children. But it goes to show you how far parents will go to defend their kids, right? They will defend their kids to the death. They will fight to the death for the protection of their children. And that's exactly what this father did. He did exactly what fathers are supposed to do. He protected his family, even at the cost of his own life. And again, that's what makes this story, even though it's so sad, is also kind of remarkable in the sense that, again, he kind of walked into a situation where he knew he was outnumbered, but he still did what he had to do. He put his life on his line for his family. Again, it's just sad that this is even a story that these people decided to show up to his house with that type of intent, and to put that father in that situation. But wow, it's crazy to think about. It really is. Yeah, I mean, that was, again, an incredible act of bravery. Incredible act of bravery. Again, I just wish that he was armed. Because, again, that's why we have the Second Amendment. For situations like this. Exactly for situations like this. So, I mean, that's the main reason I want to cover this story is that, you just never know. Okay? You could send your kids to school, they can get in a fight, and then you can have a mob at your doorstep. And if you got to defend yourself, you don't want to be outmanned like this, and stuff like this ends up happening. It's really sad. I mean, these kids are now going to grow up without a father because of this situation. I feel terrible for the kids. I feel terrible for the sons, who again has lost a father. But I mean, he definitely set a great example of what a father is for sure while he was alive. Or so it seems, okay, just based off this incident. So with that being said, I mean, the suspects are still out there. I'm pretty sure somebody knows who these people are for sure. Hopefully they'll be brought to justice. And again, rest in peace to this father, Christopher Wright, who basically did exactly what fathers are supposed to do, which is put their lives on the line to protect their family at all costs. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.